Ladies and gentlemen, today's episode is going to be Monday Money Talk with Michael Macklin, introducing my guest and good friend, Michael Macklin. How you doing this evening, sir?
Doing better than amazing, brother Jimmy. Definitely appreciate you having me on, man. How's it going on your end, brother?
Everything is going great. Right now, we are still going to wait on the people to join. We have one viewer. That's awesome. We're going to start. I usually wait a little bit and to see if people start joining in. And
Okay.
we've already, all right, we're up to two viewers. Amazing, amazing. How is everybody doing out there this evening? We're going to see if we can wait for at least a few more viewers to join because this information is valuable. And if we do start and you come in late, please stay for the session and then watch the replay in the morning or whenever or at your leisure so you can get this good information. We have a wonderful show planned out for you. Michael is going to be talking to you about finances, financial wellness, retirement plans, milestones to set for yourself, and how you get there, getting out of debt, a little bit of everything. This is going to be a general all purpose show. If everything goes well and you, the viewers, decide, we'll come back another Monday or Monday after that or Monday after that, depending on how you guys feel about it. There's going to be a lot of there's going to be his information is going to be listed in the description, and he has an email address there. If you feel like you want to contact Mr. Mike Macklin or Money Mike, then please feel free to do so. He is not going to be you know upset about that. The information is there for your viewing pleasure and for your use.
Absolutely.
All right, I think we are leveled out at the initial five users, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Um, so, Michael, I've known you for over 20 years, but these wonderful people in the audience may not know anything about you. So, can you tell me something about you and what qualifies you and what experiences you have or have had with money management and financial wellness?
Okay. Definitely great question. First off, is a great question. I definitely appreciate that. Kind of really gives me a chance to identify with the viewers. If this is your first time checking me out, other than my page that I have, my name is Michael Macklin, aka Money Mike. I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan. I'm gonna kind of give you a little background on who I am from then to now, and I in the hopes that it helps you to understand the place that I'm coming from and why it is that you should listen to me. So, with that said, again, I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan, born and raised. Didn't have it so great coming up. Detroit is a rough city. If you've ever been there, it's a very impoverished city. Like even now, they're recovering from bankruptcy, and the city's just had a rough go around. And coming from that place, the opportunities initially they just did not exist. The money just was not there. The opportunity was not there. And I had to, had a rough go at life for a while. I actually was in the foster care system from, 5 up until 8. And, luckily for me, God, blessed me with a wonderful family around 8 years old. And, had that normal family at that point. But unfortunately, another bump in the road came. I lost my dad at 16 years old. And basically at that point, it was pretty much on me to kind of, take care of the family, make sure things was right. And, I had a very important conversation with my mother. She said, listen, son, I don't know what your plan is in life, but, as far as, paying for anything or anything like that, I'm not in a place where I can do that. So, you're going to have to figure, the next chapter in your life out on your own. So needless to say, I did exactly that. I was approached by a Army recruiter, very young. I was, finishing my junior year of high school. And, the recruiter was like, hey, listen, the Army's a great opportunity to do this, that, and the third. I say, hey, makes sense. I joined up. But the funny part is, when you have a dream, there's always going to be bumps in the road. There's always going to be something in front of you. So,
Indeed.
so when I was initially about to come in, I'm at the recruiting station, starting to fill out my paperwork and everything like that. And we got to the portion where they were discussing my job. Now, again, I never had any money. Money was my thing. I was, focusing on. It was always been like something that's been inside of me like my whole life. So I already knew that I was going to come into the military as a finance person, and they had other plans. They thought they had other plans, should I say? They said, hey, listen, they showing me all kind of videos about two-wheel mechanic or something like that, and so I had to stop the guy and say, hey, wait a minute, why are you showing me this video? And he said, well, this is going to be your job. I said, listen, let me stop you here. I said, if I'm not able to come in as a finance person, I'm not going to come into service. So I'm telling you this now. I don't want to waste any more of your time. So they got on the phone, made a couple phone calls, come back in the room. Congratulations, you're a financial management technician. Fantastic. All right, we cooking with grease now. So fast forward. We're just gonna fast forward 20 years up until around now. 20 years of financial knowledge, just everything from payroll to accounting to actually physically having money, making sure I know where it's going. Actually, having individuals who I'm entrusting with funds, sending them out to go collect funds. I've done almost everything that you can think of in finance. But this is the big but. I've been around money all these years, but the real financial strategies was escaping me. I wasn't saving money. I wasn't investing. I wasn't, really understanding, the true secrets behind wealth. And what made me realize that is, I was getting ready to retire, 20 years in service, basically from 17 up until 37. The Army was taking care of me. They had me cradled like a little baby for 20 years, taking care of me. And, that time was coming to an end. And that was very, very scary for me because I'm used to getting a paycheck every 2 weeks, no matter what I did, whether, I was messing up at work, whether I was doing great at work, whether I was there, whether I was not there, the checks was coming. So now, that was coming to an end. And, I had to get out in the real world, and okay, what is my job going to be now? What am I going to do? And that was a very scary, experience for me. And that's what really, brought the point home of, you got to figure this out. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you really have to figure this out. And I was fortunate to, come across first, I came across a lot of great literature, some great books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, different business books. I started listening to podcasts about, investing, about, money. And the pivotal point I got to is where I came across, I started learning about different strategies you can start using, for your money to, be able to pay down debt so much more quickly, and how you can kind of start using that to really get yourself in a better place financially. And that was like the money shot for me. But what really really drove everything home and what really got me hungry is I got out of the service, and I'd been used to getting refunds every tax year, like 1,000, 2,000, whatever, every year. I got out of the military the first year out now, and the first year out, I owed the government like $4,000. So I'm like, oh my God, what the heck just happened? And I was so mad that day that I went home and I just got on the computer and started researching how to lower your taxes, different things like that. And I came across some great information. And from there, that's when I got started on everything that I'm doing now. So that is me. Why you should listen to me now. Again, I'm not a tax advisor. I'm not a financial advisor. However, everything that I'm going to discuss with you today are things that I have personally done. I'm not coming to you with, some kind of, get rich quick scheme. So if you on here thinking I'm about to tell you how to make $1 million in 2 days, you on the wrong show. Hey, talk to Jimmy about some art because you're not about to, yeah, I'm not, it's not the conversation that's going to happen. But if you want to know how you can get to this money, really get to this money, a no nonsense approach, I am your guy. I have done it. the strategies that I'm going to talk about, I have physically done myself. So I'm coming from a place of experience, not from a place of speculation or wondering. So that is my resume. 20 years in the Army service. I've been around money my whole life. I'm a student of money. I'm a student of, wellness, fitness, health, money. Like I'm a adamant student. So this is why you should listen to me. Me and Jimmy are gonna have us our own conversation, you know what I'm saying, outside of
Yeah.
the forum. But today it's about you guys. So, hey, listen, I'm gonna throw some stuff out there. We're gonna have an opportunity, to where, any questions, by any means, please stop me and say, hey, listen, what's going on here? And Jimmy will stop me, if you guys, drop a comment down there. He'll say, hey, listen, we got a question. But guys, that's me. Get ready to, hear some great information. If you got a pen and paper, I would suggest, writing some things down. There are going to be some references, some notes towards the end, but you always want to, anytime that you're getting an education, you want to take notes because you may miss something or you may need to go back to something, and notes is key. So with that, that's my introduction. Jimmy, what else you got for me, brother?
Well, I'm gonna interject real quick. I want to mention something that you talked about, folks. He said something that's really, really important. Okay, he said wealth and health. Not only do you have to your health, and Humongous says there's a lot too. He's in the chat. Your health is your wealth as well. Taking care of your body, taking care of your mind, taking care of yourself is a very, very important part of this whole investment process. You have to be physically and mentally ready for the rigors of life, because some of these things are going to take a lot of effort, a lot of concentration. They're going to take a lot of dedication and a lot of sacrifice. And those things are not only a financial toll, but it will also spill over into your physical life via stress or whatever. So it's very important, like he said. Your health is your wealth as well. When you embark these projects, make sure you take time out to also take care of your um, physical well-being, take care of your spiritual well-being, take care of your physical well-being, take care of your financial well-being. So take care of the mind, the spirit, the body, and everything else will fall into place. You're gonna need that. You're gonna need everything to do these things. It's just not just the mind, but your body has to be there too. And that's just something that is dear and near to my heart, especially as I get older in life. I realize that you need to keep up that energy, to do some of the things that you want to do in life, and you need to keep that energy flowing. Humongous is amen, me brother, because he kills me in the gym Tuesday through Friday for about an hour and a half. I come out more decrepit and old and I feel than I went in, but we're gonna get back on track. So, do you want me to go ahead and start the slideshow, or do you want me to just read the questions off to you?
Well, I mean, you can read a few questions off to me, and then
All right. So the first topic is going to be financial terms, and Mr. Macklin is going to go over those. Do you need the slide for that, sir, or do you got this all on lockdown?
No, let me see those slides because I'm getting older in years, and my memory ain't what it used to be, brother.
All right, I'm going to present to everyone. Boom. So everybody should be looking at this. You should be seeing this as well.
All right. Yep, I can see it. So this agenda here, basically, just this is what we're gonna kind of talk about here. I wanted to kind of have some kind of format so that I'm not just talking all around the world. I want everybody to really have a clear understanding of the is the for lack of a better term, the mysteries of money. Okay, because unfortunately we weren't taught these things in school. You don't have somebody sit you down in school and really teach you things about taxes, things about investing. You may take like an economics class and it kind of talks about kind of business a little bit, but it really doesn't break down how to become financially successful. So, the first portion of here, the introduction, we kind of went through already, talking about who I am and why you should listen to me. The biggest point I want to drive home again is the key reason that I feel like, everybody should listen to me is because I come from the same place you all come from. I'm not, Donald Trump, or I'm not, Warren Buffett, somebody who's like, like galaxies away. I'm myself and Jimmy work together. So, we're hand in hand in the trenches, in the same place. So I'm not coming from a place of arrogance. I'm not coming from a place saying I'm better than anybody. I'm coming from a place saying that if I can do it, then you guys can do it too, because I'm in the same place you are. So that's the biggest reason I say, why you should listen to me, because I'm a little bit in a different situation, so to speak, but we're still on level playing fields here. I'm no better than anybody. I'm no smarter than anybody. I just happen to have a little bit more information. And again, I have no problem sharing that information. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about is financial terms, because I don't want to talk over anybody's head. There may be some things that I say that, you've never heard that term. So I want to make sure that I'm clear. The next thing, and this is probably the most important, we really got to start separating fact from fiction. Okay, because there's a lot of things that we were told as children, by our parents, that no disrespect to anybody's parents, but I mean it's just not true. Our parents, they tell us the best information that they have at the time. I mean everybody's parents is wonderful to them, my parents included. And I would never say anything bad about anybody's parents. I'm just saying that we weren't as informed as we need to have been. The next part about this, am I on track? This is going to be the eye-opening moment. This is going to be what wakes you guys up. I need you guys. If you aren't paying attention, I'm hoping that these facts will bring your eyes open and make you start paying attention. Then we're going to actually start getting into, you know, problems, solutions, because I'm a person, I don't only give out information. I want to tell you also how to fix the problem. Okay, I'm not just going to come at you problem, 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 problem. I'm going to come at you with problem, and then this is how you fix it. Okay, and again, this is my advice. You do what you feel is best, but I'm just telling you again, this is what's working for me. It's opening doors for me, and I feel extremely blessed. So the two financial goals, the financial hindrances, and a very rotten and cruel trick the bank is playing. I want to open you guys' eyes to that, and then we're going to actually get into to the solutions. Then, as we're coming down for a landing, we're going to start talking about my thoughts on how you should kind of use your money. We're going to have a few references, some ideas, and then we're going to open it up for some questions. Um, and that's the agenda for us, guys.
All
All right.
right, so we're moving over to financial terms. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm trying to help lead the conversation. I know you super excited to put this information out, but so we're gonna cover financial terms now, and Michael is gonna go ahead and start that master class.
All right, all right. So again, these financial terms, again, they're not to insult anybody's intelligence. They're just to, put us on level playing field, so that any term I throw out there is not something that you don't understand, or you're like, hey, wait a minute, what is he talking about? And then I lose your attention. Okay, so first one, we're talking about income. Income is the money in which you receive for your time and efforts from either a job or a business. So it's another word for it is compensation. Okay. Now the next term, cash flow. This is very important because I'm going to say this word a lot. So we definitely want to understand what I mean when I say this. Cash flow, very simply, is just the money that's left over from your income, aka your check, after all your expenses have been paid. So basically, if you get $5 a month, and you pay $4 a month towards bills, that $1 you got left is considered your cash flow. Okay. Next is assets. This is a very important term because people get this confused all the time. Assets are items when purchased, put money in your pocket or produce wealth. Okay. A lot of people think, okay, just because you purchase a home, that your home is an asset. When realistically, it's not an asset until you actually own it, or you have someone renting the home and they're, paying you more than what you actually have to pay for the home. That's when it becomes an asset. And that segues into my next term, liabilities. These are items when purchased that take money out of your pocket or create debt. So again, these nice cars, the jewelry, the house before you pay it off or before you're renting it to someone. That wedding ring you bought, that special someone, or whatever it is that you purchase that's not adding value to you but taking money out of your pocket. Those are liabilities. Okay? The next thing, investing, and I really want you to pay attention to those first couple words, is a long-term strategy of using money or assets to create more money. Again, it's a long-term strategy, meaning you're not going to invest and then tomorrow you're going to be a billionaire. It doesn't work that way unless, I don't know, like I haven't seen anybody, other than maybe investing in like a lottery ticket and getting lucky. But I mean, a lottery ticket to me is not really an investment. It's just, because it's relying on luck and not, strategy or skill. And the next term we're going to go on is kind of segueing off of that, which is return on investment, or I often call ROI, just, for short. And basically all that is the money you get back on investments. So let's say I, put out $100 and, I get, $10 back. Okay. So that percentage is considered my return on my investment. So that $10 that I got created from that $100 is my return on investment. Got a few more on the next page here.
Moving right along.
All right. So next, these are very important. A loan. Okay. A loan is money given to a borrower for purchases that is required to be paid back, typically with interest. Loans are also known as one-way debt because the money, once you pay it, you're not getting it back. It's not going to come back to you. It's not, this magical magnet that makes your money come back. When you pay into a loan, that money is gone. It's going one way into that bank or that, whomever pocket or account. Okay. Now, a line of credit is money extended to a borrower that must be paid back when borrowed. It also requires interest to be paid if not paid before the statement date. Lines are known as revolving debt because the money, once paid, can be used again. Think about that in terms of like your credit card. Okay. So let's say you go to the gas station and you put $40 on pump one and you use your credit card. So they send you the bill. Okay, hey Jimmy, you owe me $40. Okay, so Jimmy pays the credit card bill $40 in full. So now that $40 he just put back on that card, he can use again. Okay, and he can keep using it. That's why it's called revolving, because as long as you pay it back, you can use it again.
Yo, why you bringing up a debt from 18 years ago, man?
Because I haven't forgotten. Okay, guys. So last but not least, this one is important. Okay, interest, the cost of borrowing money. That's the lack of a term. The layman's term for interest is the cost of borrowing money. Typically, is shown as a percentage. Now, there's two types of interest that's out there. There's amortized interest, which is paid over a specific period. That's things like your vehicle or your home. Okay. And the bank already knows how long you're going to have to pay on it. So that interest is calculated a different way than the next one, which is simple interest. Simple interest is basically just interest that's charged on a daily rate because they don't know how long you're going to pay it back. Like things like this is like your credit card or a line of credit, because I can charge $40 today, and then tomorrow I can pay the whole $40 back, and I don't owe anything. So that bank or that lending institution doesn't know how long I'm going to pay for it. So it's a simple interest. Now the house, again, they know, okay, for the next 30 years or the next 15 years or the next 10 years, whichever term you take, this is how long that person's going to pay. Now, getting a little deeper into the amortized versus simple, amortized interest, I try to avoid it as much as possible. Now, some of it you're not going to be able to avoid. Amortized versus simple.
Sorry about that.
All good, all good. But amortized, I try to avoid it as much as possible, or I have certain strategies in which I shorten that time because amortized interest. The problem with amortized interest is because they know how long that you're going to have to pay on it. Is charged a different way, and you end up paying a lot more with amortized interest than you do with simple interest. And a lot of people get caught up in that. And the best analogy I had shown to me, that compared amortized interest to simple interest is if you ask somebody, okay, 1 degree Celsius versus 33 degrees, Fahrenheit. Now, which one is warmer? Most people that don't know any better, they're going to look at, the 33 and say, oh, it's a bigger number. That must be bigger. But what you have to understand is it's a different unit of measure. Amortized interest and simple interest are calculated differently. So I would much rather pay a 21, 22% credit card than a 6% amortized loan because you're honestly going to pay more with that 6% amortized loan than you are with that simple credit card. So that's one of the key things that people don't understand. They look at just the numbers. They don't look at the unit of measure, or they don't look at what these things actually mean. And that's why I'm really trying to break that down for everybody. All right, so that's all I have for that one. Jimmy, you got anything to interject or?
No, so when they talk about the two types of interest, they talk about compound and simple interest. Did we cover that?
Well, compound interest and versus simple interest. Now you're starting to look at basically your return of your money. Now, simple interest just means okay, you'll get, let's say like a let's say I lend you some money and I say hey Jimmy, I want 5% back on my interest. That's simple interest. It's basically you giving me basically what you owe me. Now, compound interest, what's good about compound interest is it grows, the money grows on top of the money. So what I mean by that is, okay, let's say the first year, you put $1,000 into something, and then you get 5% interest. Okay, now the next year you're getting interest on the money on top of the money. So that 5% that I made, okay, so let's say that's another $50. So now the next year I'm getting interest on $1,050, not $1,000. So basically it's compounding. The money's growing on top of the money. So another way of saying that is, money making money.
Right. So hopefully it'll work on your favor and not against, because I hear that a lot when it's like car loans and not so much the home loans, but some loans like small loans will have they'll tell you it's a simple interest loan or it's a compound interest loan. So I just thought I'd ask.
Yeah, I mean, and typically the what that is it's a lot of predatory lending going on out there where like these payday loan companies and places like that, they charge you like these ridiculous rates, and what they're doing is they're banking on your desperation. Most people that go to get a payday loan are in dire straits most of the time. They're in a difficult situation and they're looking for a quick fix. And unfortunately, in most cases, that payday loan is not a fix. It's a band-aid at best because it's not really addressing the problem. Because by going into debt to pay off debt, that's not a winning combination. Okay. Anytime that you go into debt, the goal should be to eliminate that debt as quickly as possible. Now I'm kind of getting off on tangents here, so I'm gonna kind of stop myself. But the bottom line is you just got to look at where you're lending that money from, and it's a lot of it is I'm gonna get to it. Okay, so Money myths and versus facts. This is where we'll kind of get into the mindset portion of it.
All right, moving on to the next slide. Hold on, let me get the next slide thing going.
All right. So the first myth, okay. Before I start this though, let me say this. People that are wealthy, they have a different mindset than people who are not wealthy or people that are, struggling financially. People that are wealthy, first and foremost, they have a positive mindset. They understand that money is abundant. There's plenty of money. They make money every single day. Like there's never going to be a shortage of money. Now, people who are not well to do, they feel like money is something that's gonna go away, or there's not enough of it. So they scramble and scrape and fight one another to get money when there's plenty out there. There's enough out here for everyone. So you got to put yourself in a certain mindset when it comes to becoming wealthy. And that's the first myth, that only certain people can become wealthy. Guys, anyone can become wealthy. All you have to do is understand really how money works, and you will become wealthy yourself. And I'll start going through the different rules of money so you all will be just as informed as the wealthy are. Okay, let's go to the actual fact now.
Hold on, let me move the mouse over.
All right, so fact. Again, like I said, with the right mindset, strategies, and information, anyone can be wealthy. Guys, we are in America. This is a capitalistic society, meaning money is made off of opportunity. And trust me when I tell you, there is opportunity everywhere. And capitalization or capitalism is basically derived from the term capitalize. So when you think of capitalize, you think about taking advantage of an opportunity. And that's exactly what the American financial system is. You're paid off of the fact that, you're taking advantage of one of two things, either what somebody doesn't know or what somebody won't do. And you look at like almost every job or business, they're basically geared around that mindset that either I'm going to do something that you don't want to do, or I'm going to do something that you don't know how to do, and you're going to pay me for my efforts. And basically, I'm bringing value to you, so you're going to pay me based off that value. All right, next, the myth. I have to have a lot of money before I can save and invest. Guys, that just is not true. Again, you got to have the right mindset. You got to have the right information. Okay. If you start putting aside as little as $5 a week or a month, guys, that's like Jimmy was talking about a minute ago. That's where compounding starts working in your favor, because that money starts making money on top of money. It's just all about having the intelligence and the understanding of how money works in order for you to be able to now, make that money. A quote that I've always heard, is when is the best time to start doing something? And that time is now. Okay. So segueing on into the next thing. I love this one because this is my favorite thing. And a lot of times you hear this in church where the pastor, may not really be coming 100%, right out the word. But a lot of people say, money is the root of all evil. Okay. I was once, guilty of saying this myself, before I, understood what money is, and before I really start reading the Bible as well. The fact is the love of money that is the root of all evil. And also the lack of money in a lot of cases is the root of all evil. I mean, I see this all the time, and I've done it before, because I didn't have any money, let's say for food. I'll go steal some food, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't have the money. Or, I want money so bad, I go and steal it from someone. Or, I go kill someone for some money because I want money so bad. I didn't kill anybody. Let me put that disclaimer out there. I didn't kill anybody, and I'm not planning on it. But I'm just saying, there's people out there that will kill you, for some money. Like, you just look around. I've had hundreds of stories told, even around this city, where people were robbed and killed, at an ATM machine, for as few as like $100, $20. And that's why it's important. We got to educate ourselves, guys. A lot of crime is just because of the fact that people don't have it, or they want money so bad they're becoming greedy. And the last myth that I want to go over is it's too late for me to start saving and investing. That is the furthest from the truth that you can think of. It is never too late to start. Just like, exercise, or just like, anything that, you're pursuing in your life, your dreams. You're never too old to start pursuing your goals. You're never too old to start living your dreams. Okay, guys, the time to do it is now. Okay, people are living a lot longer than they were before. A lot of people are making it like 80, 90, 100 years old. So, let's say you're 40 years old right now and you're thinking, oh my gosh, it's too late for me. That's the furthest thing from the truth. Again, with the knowledge and skills, you can definitely get to that point. Now, this is the eye opener, guys. This is like, if you weren't paying attention to me before, this is the reason you need to be paying attention, okay? Because a lot of people asking themselves, okay, retirement is something that everybody talks about. Nobody wants to work forever. Nobody. Okay, so am I prepared for retirement? I'm going to answer that, very honestly. If you're not at these numbers, unfortunately, the answer is no. Okay? So the amount that you're going to need in either savings or investments, more than likely investments, I got a breakdown by age. So if you're 30 years of age right now, you should have at least $64,000 either saved or in some kind of investment vehicle, whether it be a 401k, IRA, stocks, real estate, something. Okay, now by the age of 40, you should be at 162,000. At the age of 45, you should be at 231,000. At the age of 50, you should be at 319,000. And at the age of 65, which is, the typical age of retirement now is actually 67, according to the Social Security Administration, you should be at $750,000. And where this number comes from is basically you have to have enough money for your money to produce income to, fund your expenses, your life expenses. So let's say, you own a home, and you have to pay, let's say $20,000-$30,000 a year just to live in your home. Then let's say you still have a vehicle. Let's say you still have, other debts out there. This is what's funding that lifestyle now. So this is why these numbers are very important, because you have to have enough money saved up to where, or in an investment vehicle where that money is making money, for you to be able to, again, to now sustain yourself, because you no longer have a income coming from your job. Your income has to now come from the money that you saved and invested, which is why it's so important to start investing and saving as soon as you can, because of the time value of money. I'm going to get into that later, but the sooner you start, the better. This is why right now my daughter is 16 and I've already started her IRA, because I want her ahead of the game, not behind the game. Okay, guys? Jimmy, have I got any questions from anybody yet, or are we still good?
Um, no, everybody seems to be good. They're listening. They're engaged. They're all very grateful for the information being shared. Definitely seems good. So we can move on to the next slide if you wish.
All right.
To
So
financial goals.
now, exactly. This is the important part now. This is where we really start to dissect this thing now, okay? If I didn't get your attention before, with those numbers, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, because, hey, if you're not there, guys, you are in trouble. Like, you may not know it yet, but you're in trouble, because trust me when I tell you, time is waiting for nobody. Like, the way that years are going by now, I feel like years go by like minutes now. Like, it's not a game anymore. So let's actually start dissecting this now, and let's really get into what we really need to really start focusing on. All right, so our financial goals, we should have two of them. Okay, the first one is obvious. You need to make enough money to pay for your life experience, your expenses, excuse me. That's your food, your shelter, your household expenses and your wants. You know, that's why we all go to work every day, because we got to fund what it is that we want to do. But the second part of that is where a lot of people ignore. You need to be doing this at the same time. You need to also be saving and investing enough money to fund your retirement. Again, if you looked at those numbers on the last slide, you got to keep those numbers in mind, and you got to start, putting aside that money as well. You can't just spend, spend, spend. You have to prepare for your retirement. Okay, guys? Okay, and moving forward.
Moving forward.
These are our four obstacles. This is what's getting in the way of you getting to those two goals. The first one is, to me, the most dangerous one, because nobody pays this one attention. And that's why I call it the silent income killer. It's called inflation. And what inflation is basically, inflation is the cost of goods and services. It goes up a little bit every year, but most people's income does not go up enough to match that. The typical inflation rate is about 3%. And if you look at things like, let's say, your bank account, okay, your bank account in most cases, they don't even give you 1%. They don't even give you a tenth of a percent. So if inflation is going up at 3% and your account, is only going up, 0.01 or 0.05%, your money is getting ate away. It's worth less and less and less every year. And inflation, like I said, it's a monster. Now the next one, this one is equally bad because, it attacks you before you even have a chance to defend yourself against it. And that's taxes. Guys, when I tell you taxes eat away at least a third of your income before you even touch it. Let me explain that to you. Okay, the typical household makes about $50,000 to $55,000. That's the median income right now for Americans. Some people may be a lot less, some people may be a lot more, but that's around the middle ground. Now, if you're familiar with tax brackets, which you should be reading up on the tax brackets. I just read up on it, when the new tax code came out. So I looked at all the tax brackets. So at 50,000, you are at the 22% tax bracket. Okay,
Whoa.
guys, 22%. Okay, now let's start doing some addition. You are at 22 already. Now you got to think about, let's say, myself and Jimmy, we live in North Carolina. So you also pay a state tax. Okay, so that's now, I believe it's somewhere around 7% in North Carolina. So now you're already at 29% of your money gone. Then you got our good friends of Medicare and Social Security. So that's another like 7%. So now you're sitting at like 36% of your money is gone before you even touch it. Between state, federal, and FICA and Medicare, they killing you on taxes. So that's where a lot of your money is going right there. Then it gets worse. So now, okay, you thought you was making $50,000, but then, after your taxes come out, you're only looking at maybe like 31, 33, somewhere in that neighborhood. And now you got your household expenses. You got, the house, the car, you got the kids, you got, the wife want to go out to dinner. The wife want to do this. The husband wants to, go buy those power tools. Okay. And then on top of that, you don't have enough money, to pay for things outright. So you have to borrow. And now you're being charged interest. So that's, again, the cost of not having money. It costs you money to not have money. Okay, so now again, boom, now that's eating away at your money even more. And just to finish you off, the last little bit of money you got left, then comes big business. We watching TV, and these people on TV look like they having a time of their life in this, fancy sports car, or, drinking, a certain beverage, or, going on a trip wherever. But it doesn't just stop there. Oh, going back to me one time there, Jimmy. Go back for me one.
Oh, go back to you.
Yeah, go back one. The other
One
slide.
slide. Hold on. Gotcha.
All right.
Oh no, no,
Uh,
that's two solutions. Oh,
we're going forward. We're going forward.
there you go.
One more. There we go. Right there. So now we talked about, some of the marketing tactics, but think about it. Every month there's some kind of, holiday or something that's digging into your pocket. So let's run down it. Starting from January. January, you got New Year's. You going out to these parties, or, you doing celebrations at your house or wherever, at church. Okay, then February. Now you got Valentine's Day. And guess what? Come home without some flowers or chocolates or a teddy bear, or without taking your wife or husband or somebody out to dinner, and see what kind of trouble you're gonna be in. Then you go into March. We get into March. I think you got Easter, one of those, or the springtime. Okay, and then April. Again, you got April Fools. You got Easter. And then you go into May now. May now you got Memorial Day. June. Now in June you got, and shoot, man, May I forgot. You also got Mother's Day. So you got two of them in May. Now June you got Father's Day. July you got 4th of July. August now is back to school time. September now you got Labor Day. October, okay, here we go. October is getting ready to come up here. Matter of fact, in a couple weeks, Halloween. Okay, and then it gets progressively worse. November, you got Brown Thursday, Black Friday. Was it? Gosh, what was that one on Saturday? Small Business Saturday. Monday, you got Cyber Monday. So within 1 week, that's 4 major holidays eating away at your paycheck. And then you round the year out. Christmas Day, and then New Year's Eve. So big business has their hand in your pocket every month of the year. And you only working with what's left now, guys. This is where your money is going. And if you're not watching it, this is why we are struggling so much financially. Now we can move forward to the solutions.
You sure, man? Because you got
Oh,
Crew Bank Trick
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
32.
One more evil trick. Yeah, I thought I covered all the evil tricks, but here's one more. The bank is playing the worst trick of all on everybody. So let's talk about that. Okay. To understand what this trick is, I have to introduce a term to you. It's called the rule of 72. So basically, the rule of 72 is basically used to determine how long it will take your money to double. So let's just say hypothetically, you put $100 into an account. Now the rule of 72, this is how we're going to figure out how long it's going to take for that money to double. So let's move on. To get to this number, basically you're going to divide the number 72 by whatever percentage rate interest you're getting on that money. Typically, people putting money into a checking and savings account. And I was being generous right now with the bank and saying, let's say, they give you 0.05% interest. I've been looking, and they give you, a lot of them are giving you 0.01, maybe 0.03. Okay. So that's disgusting. So now let's, using that rule, using the rule of 72. So now you divide 72 by that 0.05, and that 1,440. That's how many years that $100 you put in there is going to take just to become 200. So in short, 5% interest, 0.05, excuse me, 0.05% interest money would take 1,400 years just to double. And last time I checked, nobody in this audience is immortal. Nobody's going to live to be 1,440 years old. Okay. But now on the flip side, let's say you gave the money to the bank for savings and they gave you back 0.05%. But then when the bank gives you money, they charging you, let's say 6% or higher on it. Like let's say you go do a car loan and your credit's not so great. They charging you like 6, 10, 15, 20%. So, I kind of used a lower number and said, okay, so now let's use that percentage. So now the rule of 72 again, divide 72 by the percentage. So now that money they lent you, the 72 divided by 6 is 12. So it only took them 12 years to double their money, but it took you 1,400 years to double yours. The bank is playing games. They are playing with our money and our emotions. Guys, this is where your money's going. Inflation is eating that up like it's nothing. And as you can see, all I can say is wow. Terrible. Now we can move on.
Now we can move on.
The solutions. This is important. This is where you start to beat this. This is where you start to get in front of this. Okay? And I put these kind of in order because this is the strategies in which I use, and I address the problems as they come. So the first thing is you have to own. You have to be a business owner. You have to. There's no way around it. Okay, because you have to be in a position where you are in ownership. Okay, and even I didn't include this on here, but like ownership in general, you need to own your home. You need to own your vehicle. You need to own, stocks, bonds, things like that. The longer that you're renting, you're just giving money away. You're throwing money away. And I put tax strategies in there with it because, again, whether you know it or not, your biggest expense is your taxes, as we talked about before. Almost, 30 to 40% of your money is going to taxes. And where business ownership comes into play is, for individuals who have home-based businesses, this is where you start to get those tax benefits, those tax write-offs. And the write-offs is what's putting money back into your pocket. This is why, when we were looking at the presidential election and everybody was in a big uproar because, when in the debate, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump were doing their debate, and Hillary, told Donald Trump, well, hey, you don't even pay taxes. And Donald Trump said, well, yeah, because I'm smart. As offensive as that might have sounded to some people, he's actually right. I mean, the fact that he understands the tax law is what helps him keep more money in his pocket. That's why he's wealthy, is because he understands principles of money. That's why it is important for us to understand that as well. Business ownership opens you up to the tax laws that the wealthy take advantage of. I've always had the school of thought of I don't try to beat people that are winning. I try to join them. If I see you over here doing well, I'm going to ask you, okay, hey man, what are you over here doing? And I'm going to adopt your strategy because you're winning. And that's what we need to start doing. Instead of being mad at the wealthy for being wealthy, we need to educate ourselves to become wealthy ourselves. That's now moving on. Now we've tackled the taxes now. So now, we're taking care of. Go back, Jimmy. Go back.
I'm sorry. You said moving on, and I moved on.
No. Moving on to the next bullet point. Excuse me. I gotta be clear in my communication here. So the next thing now, we gotta get in front of this cash flow management, this cash flow optimization. Okay, again, I talked about cash flow, the money you have left. Okay, after bills are paid, guys, we have to start using that money not for lifestyle enhancement. We need to start using that money to pay down debt quickly, to start investing. Okay, guys, we have to start making that money work for us, not just, giving it right back to big business, giving it right back to, the car dealerships, giving it right back to, Louis Vuitton and Michael Kors and, Gucci and all these different companies who's showing you these nice things. Stop giving your money right back to them. Make your money start to make money. That's what I'm talking about. So, investing, this is how wealth is truly made. Your money has to make money. This is why the wealthy, basically, what they're doing is they're buying time, because money making money, it can work all the time. You only have so many hours that you can work until you gotta get some sleep. Okay, unless, again, I don't know if you some kind of like robot or something like that, but for the average human being, you cannot work, every second of every day. This is why investing is key. And my two favorite places to invest are in the stock market and real estate, because this is the stock market and real estate. This stuff is going while you sleep. Okay, somebody always is going to want to have somewhere to live. I Even from caveman days, they was creating, these little homes out of caves and, carving out little areas and nooks to live in. So guess what? People want shelter forever. Okay, guys, it's never going anywhere. So your money has to be making money. Okay. And now, this is how you got to start keeping your eyes on your money. This is my suggestion. Again, this is a suggestion on where your money should go. Okay. So for people that's trying to budget, this is the numbers that I use myself. Okay. The first part of that is your tithing. That is the most important to me, because I'm religious. I'm not afraid to say my faith. I'm a Christian. I believe that it's very important to give your 10% to tithes. That is God's money. That's not yours. Okay. And to really drive this point home, you got to understand something. Everybody's always asking, God, please give me more. Please do this. But if you can't handle giving 10% of your money, how is God going to bless you with more? You can't handle the 10% that he asking you for. So what makes you think, you're going to be able to handle any more if you start getting more of it? And that's the test. Okay? The next 10%, you got to pay yourself. That's where you start going into saving. Get you an emergency fund. Now, for me, I actually believe that there's three emergency funds that you need. The first one you need to have is in your regular savings account, and all you need to put in there is maybe $1,000. That's for like little mini minor emergencies, like maybe a little small repair on your car, or maybe you got to replace the tires, or something small. Okay, the next account, this should be outside of your bank account, and that should be between $3,000 and $5,000. Now you want to put those into higher yield savings accounts. And what you can go on to is bankrate.com, and it shows you, these higher rate savings accounts. It'll let you know how much you need to put in there. And a lot of them, you don't need to put anything in there. You can have as low as, $0, $5, $100 to get into these accounts. And they're paying, a normal bank account is paying you, like, again, 0.01%, 0.03%. You find these high yield accounts that's paying you, 1.9, 2.1. And if you remember that rule of 72, that money will double much more quickly than that little baby little 0.05%. Okay, so now the next thing you need to start looking at is your, 6 months to a year emergency fund. And this all comes with time. Like me and Jimmy said at the beginning, guys, this isn't something that's going to happen quickly, but it's something that can happen. You just got to keep plugging away at it. Okay, guys? Next thing we're talking about, honestly speaking, only 40% of your money should be going to living expenses. Okay, if you're paying any more than that, you're paying too much. You're living too high up. Because again, if you're paying more than 40% for living expenses, how are you going to save? How are you going to invest? all your money is gone. It's going right back into somebody else's pocket. It's not funding your retirement. Something I've been thinking about lately, when getting prepared for this show, what you got to think about your retirement as, you have to think about your retirement as honestly your most important debt, the debt that you owe yourself. Okay, you have to pay to stop working, and the only way to do that is by saving and investing. So, for those people who think, again, the people have the wrong mindset about their careers. They think that they're just always going to get paid. The problem with that is you don't own that job. Okay, if your boss decides tomorrow he want to fire you, he is well within his rights and legality to do that. And most times, when you walk into a job, one of the first things they, explain to you as you're in processing is, hey, you do understand that, you can be terminated at any time for any reason. And they're as bold now as to say that to you right in your face, like, hey, listen, you do understand that, this job, can be ended at any time. And you sign the paper like, okay, yeah, I understand. And you put it out of your mind. Stop putting that out of your mind. Your job does not belong to you. The company may go bankrupt. You may get injured. You never know what can happen in your life. So you must prepare. There's not a matter of whether you should or not. You must. You have to do this. Doing anything else is honestly, and I hope I don't offend anybody by saying this, but I'm being real here. It's childish. That's what children do. Children just, go out and, don't think about their responsibilities. Once you become an adult, you have to be responsible. That's what being an adult is. And you got to keep your mind focused on what's important. Now, the next percentage you need to look at is, okay, this is part of your, investing. Now, you got to start investing. 15% of your money should be going to either a 401k or IRA. Now, I know some jobs, they don't have a 401k, but guess what? You can go to most banks or lending institutions and they have IRAs. Or if you're self-employed, you can get what's called either a simple or a SEP IRA. A SEP IRA is basically a self-employed pension IRA. Okay, so you have no excuse whether you're working or not. There's a way to start investing.
Hey, Mike.
Yes, sir.
We have a question from the chat. We have two questions from the chat, but now that you're talking about the IRA, we'll go with the second question, which is, what is the difference between a Roth IRA and a 401k?
A Roth IRA and a 401k, or
Yeah, what's the difference?
okay, because the 401k has a Roth as well.
Just like
So
okay, let's just say like just a regular like an IRA and a 401k then.
okay, I'll actually do both. Okay, so a 401k and an IRA. Okay, so the traditional 401k or IRA are basically they're tax deferred retirement accounts, meaning, okay, you put the money in, and whatever money you make on it, it doesn't get taxed until, excuse me, until you reach retirement age and you start pulling that money out. Okay, so that means tax deferred, meaning you pay the tax on it later. Okay, so that's the traditional IRA. And what happens is when you contribute to those two types of IRAs, the 401k, for instance, you can put up to $18,100, I believe now, in the 401k. And what happens is that $18,000 that you put into that 401k comes off of your taxable income because, again, it's tax deferred. Now, the IRA is similar, but you don't get to put as much into it. On the IRA, the limit is 5,500 for the traditional IRA, but it has the same benefit, is where you don't pay tax on it, so it comes out of your taxable income. And you'll see in your paycheck, it should say somewhere down towards the bottom or something like that. It'll actually say taxable expenses after IRA or something like that. I'd have to look at one of my pay stubs, but it actually tells you on there, how much they're actually taking off of your taxable income. Now, the Roth IRA or Roth 401k, the difference here now is it's not tax deferred. Okay, so basically, is the way it works is okay. The Roth IRA is money that you've already made, so it's already been taxed. So you put that in, to that IRA or that 401k. It's already been taxed. So whatever money you pull out of the IRA or the 401k that's a Roth, it's already been taxed. So they're not going to tax you again. Now that's the money that you take out that's earned now. Now, if you start going taking out of the principal, what they're going to do is they're going to charge you an early withdrawal fee and probably tax that. But if you're just taking, let's say you make interest off of your IRA and you start pulling from it, then that money will not be taxed. So that's the difference between the Roth versus the traditional. It's basically a lot of times it's just really a tax strategy. Like somebody who wants to, lower their tax liability, they may do a traditional IRA to avoid paying, some taxes. That's actually one of the strategies I use right now. Is I want to lower my taxable income, so I contribute to a Roth. I mean, not a Roth. Excuse me, a traditional 401k. And what that's doing is lowering my tax liability.
Hmm. So that's very interesting. So with the Roth, so depends on what. That is this a companies that offer? You get to do it on your own. I think, and most companies I worked for, excuse me, have only offered a 401k. So
Yes, I mean typically most companies offer the 401k. The IRA comes into play, and you'll see it actually in the tax law as well. The IRA comes into play if the employer does not offer a pension or retirement account program. That's when you can actually do an IRA, because if the company doesn't offer it, then you can go out onto the market and find your own individual retirement account. And that's why it's called an individual retirement account, because you have to go out, as an individual and go find it, versus the employer offering it either as a pension or a 401k, which is most of the time is more common now. Pensions are starting to go away. Basically, after the industrial revolution, the pensions start slowly going away, and companies thought it more economic just to offer a 401k.
yeah, and some companies, of course, depending on what you work with, have better 401k options. So if your company offers matching up to 6% or 10%, definitely take advantage of that. That means whatever you put in, they're gonna match. So if they're matching up to 6%, that means they're gonna 6% of what you put in extra from them is gonna go into your 401k account. And believe me, it adds up. In a couple of years, you can have a nice sum of money. Um, so you gotta, if you do, start in a new program, make sure you look at what they're offering as far as donation matching and those things before you decide to go, with an individual with an individual account on your own, or if you want to do it with the company. So just something to keep an eye out, because some companies are really good and some companies are not so good. And touching back on what he said, at will states, North Carolina is an at will state. Not all states are at will states, but North Carolina is an at will state. I think Virginia is an at will state. And what that means is any job you get in that state, there's you can be fired for no reason, none whatsoever. They could just be like, hey, you know what? We just don't need that position. Have a good life. So those are things to take into consideration as well as what state are you living in, and does the at will law apply to your state? Just things to consider. We have another question. When filing taxes, does it make a difference to file head of household?
Absolutely, it does. And a lot of people, they make a mistake on that. Actually, my cousin, fairly recently, we just talked about this because he uh he and his significant his wife actually parted ways, and he filed head of the household. But unfortunately, what people don't understand about head of household is if you are married, you cannot claim head of the household. Okay, just because people, I guess they take the term too literal. They're like, "Oh, I'm the man. I'm the head of my house." I'm like, "No, that's not what the IRS is talking about." Yes, man, according to the Bible, yes, you are the head of your home. You're the leader. However, in the IRS's eyes, it's a different set of things you have to look at, a different set of circumstances. And first and foremost, if you are not single, then you cannot claim head of the household. Okay. The second thing is if you do not have dependents, whether it be children or parents, you cannot claim head of household. Okay. So a lot of people think just because, oh, I'm in this house by myself, I'm the head of the household. That's not the case because you're not supporting anyone. So in terms, you're not the head of the household. Okay. Or if you're married, you cannot claim head of the household because you're not single. Okay. So what you want to do, let me find it real quick for you guys. There's actually a publication that talks about this specifically. And this is why it's very important to look at your W-4. A lot of people don't look at that W-4 properly and they end up getting in trouble because of that exact thing. They claim um the wrong status and then they end up getting penalized for it. Actually, I'm going to read this really quickly. Head of household. Generally, you can claim head of household filing status on your tax return only if you are unmarried and pay more than 50% of the cost of keeping up a home for yourself and your dependents or other qualifying individuals. Now, it tells you exactly where to look. It says see publication 501. So, guys, this is why reading these tax laws is important. This is how the wealthy do it. They read the tax laws and they understand what they can and can't do, and they do it. But we just go off of word of mouth, or we go off of, oh yeah, go ahead and claim that, and you'll be good. But if the IRS comes back and audit you, oh, they coming for you. Trust and believe it. And you have to arm yourself with that knowledge in order to confidently fill out that tax form and know you won't have any issues.
Sounds good, man. That's good. That's some good information. It definitely clarified a lot, not only for me, but hopefully for some the people in the audience. So your next one is we're going to talk about moderate, high
Yep.
risk investment stocks or real estate. That's the next one. Ten
Yes.
percent, 10% moderate, high risk investing stocks or real estate.
Yes. Now this one exactly like I said, that's what I have, stocks or real estate, because these are my two favorite types. And honestly speaking, my heart of hearts favorite one is real estate. Okay? Because again, like I told you all before, until the end of time, people are going to want to, have shelter. Nobody wants to sit out in the rain or the snow or the hurricanes or none of that. Nobody wants to sit outside during these kind of times. Okay. You're going to want to have a roof over your head. And, I don't care if, 100, years, 200, 300 years in the future. I mean, we all saw the Jetsons. Even then, they still was staying in houses. They might have been up in the sky, but guess what? They still was in houses. So guess what? Real estate is going to be around for a really, really, really long time. And more millionaires are made off of real estate investing than almost anything else. Okay, guys, because honestly speaking, it's so simple realistically to get into real estate. As long as you understand, again, you got to understand the laws and you got to understand how it works. But a person with terrible credit, no money, can still own real estate as long as you understand about the different terms like controlling interest and things like that. That's why anytime you ride around the city right now, in most cities and everywhere in every state, you see those signs saying "We buy houses" or Bobby buys houses or I buy ugly houses. These
I've
are
seen those.
these are people using a real estate strategy called wholesaling, which basically means, they get a property for, a pretty cheap price. But what they do is they basically they create a contract with that owner. Now, notice I said they didn't give that person money. They had that person sign a contract. So now when that contract gets signed, the individual now has what's called a equitable interest in that home. Okay? He doesn't own it, but he has an equitable interest, meaning he has control now. So now what that person does is now that contract, he says, okay, he tells the individual, okay, hey, listen, I'm gonna do a contract and I'm gonna say, let's say I'm gonna buy your house for $30,000. Okay. So then, let's say for instance, that's me. I find somebody that, they say, I'm gonna give you my house for 30,000. And, I call up Jimmy and he like, yo, man, I'm trying to get another house. I'm like, okay, bet. Hey, Jimmy, man, I just got this house. Um, I'm gonna let you get it from me for 40,000. Okay. Jimmy says, okay, man, look, the house is worth this. Oh, that seemed like a good deal. So Jimmy now he pays for the home. Okay, so I do another contract with Jimmy for 40,000. So Jimmy's gonna pay $40,000, but it's gonna end up going 30,000 is gonna go to the individual who I had the contract with originally, and the other $10,000 goes to me. So now I just made $10,000 off of a house that I didn't even really own, but I controlled it. And this is why I say, guys, when you understand how things like investing works, you can start to do things like that. You can put deals like this together. Like people would, like I said, you don't have to have credit for that. You don't have to have money for that. You might have to have a little bit for marketing. That's about it. But you just put a deal together just like that. Boom. And then last but not least,
Starting your dream business or reinvesting into your current business.
this is very important. Like I said, I didn't get too deep into this a minute ago, but let me kind of get into this now that we're here. Why is it important for everyone? Everybody under the sound of my voice, go back one for me, Jimmy.
Oh, hold
Everybody,
on.
everybody under the sound of my voice, you need to own a home-based business. And the reason why, I don't, a few people may have saw my Facebook page already, but I had a video on there talking about this. Um, and actually, a CPA fairly recently was interviewed, and they basically said word for word, you must have a home based business if for nothing else, for tax purposes. And what I mean by that is, like I was talking about before, when you're a business owner versus an employee, you are privy to more taxes. Okay, the way that works is, okay, like the regular W-2 9 to 5 employee, the way that they are paid, they go to work, they pay taxes, and then they get what's left. Okay, now the business owner, or in this case, home-based business owner, the way that they get their money now, they get paid, they spend their money, and then they tax on whatever's left. And the way that works is what's called tax deductions. Now I know everybody's heard of tax deductions, but what people don't understand is, everyday expenses can become tax deductions. What do I mean by that? I myself I'm a small home-based business owner. My business is teaching financial strategies. So I've monetized my skill set. Again, this is what capitalism is. I am making creating an opportunity for myself based on what I know that other people do not. So I have a home-based business. And what I'm able to do now, because I'm a home-based business owner, is I'm able to deduct a portion of my mortgage as a tax write-off. I'm able to deduct a portion of my vehicle as a tax write-off. The miles that I drive on my vehicle, I am now reimbursed 55 cents per mile. My if I'm going on a vacation to Detroit, actually Friday this week. The ticket going to Detroit, the hotel, and the rental car that I'll be getting, they will all be tax deductions because I am going on a business trip. Okay. The phone that I use, my cell phone, I am able to write off a portion of my cell phone as a business expense. I'm able to write off a portion of my utilities. So long and short, guys, is all the stuff that I'm already spending my money on anyway. Just because I'm a business owner, I am now able to take advantage of the tax laws and write that stuff off. This is stuff I was going to purchase anyway, but now I'm putting more money back in my pocket because I'm a business owner and I'm lowering my tax liability. This is how you start tackling your biggest debt, and that's your taxes, is through deductions and write-offs. This is how the wealthy do it. This is why Donald Trump doesn't pay taxes, is because he has so many businesses that basically he can basically say almost everything he makes, he spends, on business stuff. So that way he ends up, breaking even. He don't pay nothing. That is powerful, guys. So this is why, I say you need to start putting 15% of your money to the side to get that started. Everybody has a dream. Me and Jimmy was just talking about this a little bit before, we got on with everybody. We kind of was, sharing our, respective dreams. And a lot of people, most of people say that the reason they haven't started their dream is because they don't have the money. And this is why it's important. Again, if you want to be free, if you want to own your life, you have to, you got to grow up. You got to, man or woman up. And you got to, make decisions that's supporting that. For instance, you can say all day that you want to, you want to be, in great shape. But if you don't work out, if you don't eat right and stuff like that, then your actions don't support your words. If you say you want to be independently wealthy, but you're not saving any money, you're not investing, then your actions don't match your words. This is why it's important to do these things. Again, guys, we are grown-ups. We're not children. Children make, short-term decisions. Children make, decisions just to make them happy right now. When you become an adult, you have to think long-term. And this is the big money game. The money game is a marathon. It's not a race. And that's why I say when I first got on here, if you think you're going to get on here and I'm going to show you how to get rich quick, that you need to get off, because this money just does not work that way. Again, unless you like get lucky and hit the lotto or something like that, or you inherit a bunch of money, only real way is through producing wealth, and it's a long-term process. And I stress that every time I talk to somebody. This is a long-term process. You got to play the long game. You got to see years into the future if you're going to be successful with this. And the sooner you start, the better off you are. Not to say by any means is it too late, because it's never too late. But as soon as you find out, whatever it is you're trying to do, you need to start taking action towards that. Don't get caught up in, well, what about this? What about this? Go out there, try it out, make a plan, and go with it. That's just how that goes down. So that's why, I really wanted to stress that business ownership is, guys, you got to get there. You got to get there. And it is very inexpensive to start some of these businesses. The business I'm involved in is very inexpensive, and is doing wonders for me. But we'll save that conversation for another time. Next slide, please.
No, we got a question first, if you don't mind.
Sure.
All right, let me move this mic closer while I read this. If you don't like taking high risks, what type of investments would you recommend?
Again, that's where you start getting into, like for instance, a great in kind of baby investing tool is like Acorns or Robinhood or Stash. those are they're really good because you don't have to have a lot of money to start. And on Acorns, they actually allow you to choose an investing style. So let's say that you're kind of right now not really understanding how everything works, and you kind of want to learn first. Then you can choose a conservative profile. And what they'll do is, they'll invest your money into very low risk type of investments. And that is how individuals who kind of try to get their footing or don't want a whole lot of risk, that is what I would suggest, is kind of start out with baby investing like Acorn or Stash or something like that. Low barrier of entry. And again, you can set your profile as conservative, and your money is not going to grow that big now. Let's just be honest, because hey, you got to put some risk out there, risk versus reward. But if you're okay with just getting a little bit over time, which there's nothing wrong with that, then that's where I would kind of say kind of start looking first.
All right. Thank you. Did that answer your question? All right. I'm going to take silence as a yes, and we're going to move over to reference and guidelines. Take it away, Mr. Macklin.
Right. Okay. So these references and guidelines, these are just, again, these are some articles and things I've come across that have helped me. Um, the retirement by ages, that's kind of where I found that information. It kind of talks a little bit differently, as far as it doesn't give those concrete numbers, but from mentorship that I've received and different references I have myself, that's where I came with those numbers. But this article also kind of explains around that same criterion. It's kind of like saying what your average 401k balance should be. Next is the budgeting guideline. Again, my allocation versus what this popular one, the 50-20-30 rule is kind of a popular budgeting guideline. What it say, like, I think it's like 50% to living expenses, 20% to investing, and 30 to like needs and wants. That's kind of how that one works. But you can check out that article and it actually explains it. Now this next one is debt stacking. Now, if you've never heard of debt stacking, basically debt stacking is a way of paying down debt a bit more quickly than just paying the minimum. And that's the problem a lot of us have, is when we get debt, we're only paying the minimum amount. And I'll use the most popular example of that: your mortgage. If you're just paying your mortgage payment, you're only making the minimum payment. And that's why you're paying on that home for 30 years. Okay, guys? And if you know anything about interest, the longer the time goes, the more interest you're going to end up paying. So this is why people end up paying, basically when they say you when you buy a house, you basically bought it twice. This is why, because interest is killing you. And if you ever look at the amortization schedule, you'll see that, like, at the beginning and through like the first like 10 years or better, most of that money is going to the interest and it's not going to the principal. So that's why you end up paying so much. Now, with debt stacking, this is a way you're paying it off much more quickly. Just to kind of real quick talk about how that works, debt stacking works like this. Okay, so let's say you got a few bills. You got, like, let's say 3-4 bills, just for the sake of argument. You got a car note, a house, and 2 credit cards. So what you do now with your cash flow, this is what's important. You want to start using your cash flow to rapidly pay down debt. Oh gosh, what happened there? Did I lose? Okay, so you want to use your cash flow to rapidly pay down your debt. Okay, and the way to do that is, instead of just paying that minimum payment, what you're now going to do is you're going to use that cash flow and put that on top of that minimum payment. And what you're essentially doing is you're stacking on top of those bills. So once you pay off that credit card, now the money that would have been coming out for that credit card, you start putting towards the next bill, and so forth and so on, until your debts are paid off. and it happens a lot more quickly than your traditional just paying the minimums.
So this is what they used to call the snowball effect, right?
Yes, that's one way of calling it. Yes. Now this second one, the velocity banking, guys, this one is powerful. Now, I'm going to say something about this. You really have to be disciplined to use this, okay? So if you don't think you're going to be disciplined with your money, do not look at this one, because this one, it is either going to be a blessing or a curse. Because if you do this the wrong way, you are going to be in a bad way. But I did not want to not, put this out there, because, I know there are responsible people out there that can handle this. This strategy here, this velocity banking, this is how I was able to pay off my vehicle in 6 months. I owed $27,000 on my vehicle in February, and in August, I paid my vehicle off using this strategy. Now, that may be a wow factor for a lot of people, but it's because of the strategies I know. I understand how to implement these, and these two links here will show you that strategy. But again, what you have to understand about this strategy is you must have money at the end of the month for this to work. If you make less than what you spend, it's not going to work for you. So don't even look at it. But I can actually teach you how to get into a cash flow situation. Again, that's for another day. But again, I just wanted to put this information out there for you, for that person who may be in position for that. And the last thing that I want to talk about is that investment calculator. This is how you kind of start learning, how much money it'll take to get to a certain goal. Or, you can put in there, how much you're going to invest, the percent of return on investment, and it'll tell you, about how much you'll get in a certain time span.
All righty. So we have come to the conclusion of the slideshow. Um, so if anybody has any questions, now would be the time. I will look at the chat and just want to take the time out to thank Mr. Michael Macklin for joining me tonight. I want to thank you guys that stuck around all the way to the end. I know this ran a little bit longer than expected. We had scheduled for 45 minutes, but I told Michael it would probably be an hour and a half, and I was pretty close. I was pretty close. I'm not bragging. I was just pretty close. But Michael, man, I appreciate everything that you said. Um, there were some questions about maybe moving the video to a Saturday, but I think doing them on Mondays is fine. They can always watch the replay, but that really is up to you. Saturdays, I try to spend with my wife. I don't know what you try to do on your Saturdays. Um, and so, has anybody in the chat have any questions? Going once, going twice. All right. So I want to thank everybody for joining us. I want to thank Mike for taking the time out to give this brief overview. If you want any further videos with me and myself and Mike, or if you just want to follow Mike, all his links are in the description. Go down to the description. You'll see his email address. You'll see his Instagram, and you can just hit him up at your leisure. If you want him to come back on and have another session like we just did, just let us know. Oh, Ms. Ortiz, do you have a question, or did you say yes? Okay. There's a delay between what I say and what happens in the chat. All right. But I think she was saying yes about bringing you back on. So if you want to bring Mike back on, just let us know. We may make this into a Monday, but we'll move it up to 8 o'clock because it's kind of late. I saw a few people log off, and they really wanted to stay on. So we'll probably move it up to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hit us up in the comments. Hit them up in the email. My email is on my about page if you need to hit me up on my email, but I'm good with the comments. Hit us up with questions. Hit us up in the comments with what you would like to see next. If you want to see any more, just give us an idea. We'll make it try to make it into a weekly thing if we can, so we can continue to give you this good information, because I think it is very important. I was telling Mike before we got on the show, I get a little long-winded, so y'all be there with me. I was telling Mike before I got on the show that in order to build something, you need the foundation. But before you build the foundation, you have to dig the footing out. So the footing is a big hole in the ground before you pour the concrete foundation. Right now, Ms. Ortiz, regarding debt, is it better to use the snowball effect or contact a debt consolidator? Good question.
You want me to go and jump in on that?
That's you, sir.
Okay. All right. So this is how I feel, honestly speaking, about debt consolidation versus snowball effects, things like that. For me personally, because I know how to attack debt, I don't suggest a debt consolidation. Because a lot of people, again, the reason that people look at debt consolidation is because all they're looking at is the percentage. They look at, oh, okay, I can get these 20% credit cards over here to 7%. The problem is, yes, it's 20 something percent. However, when you understand how to pay these off more quickly, the 20% means nothing. And I'll use myself as an example. Again, the vehicle that I paid off, I used the velocity banking system, and the line of credit that I used to pay that off was actually almost 15%. But the way that I was attacking that debt, again, I paid I paid $27,000. You would think on that I would pay a lot of interest. However, I only ended up paying about $300 in interest on that
Wow.
$27,000 because I understand how to attack that debt. Okay. That's where the snowball effect versus debt consolidation really comes into play. When you know how to attack debt, because like I told you towards the beginning of the show, the way that amortized debt versus simple debt is calculated, you think that that bigger number is actually worse when actually the smaller number is actually worse, because once that interest starts going on you, you end up paying more. And that's
Right.
where people get lost in that. It's not about the number, it's about the unit of measure. So if I'm paying something back simple interest versus amortized interest, I'm paying less. So, and a lot of times these consolidated loans, they become amortized interest because they'll say, okay, you pay this back over a year or you pay this back over 2 years. So now they have a specified time frame on you. And again, most of the time when you pay on those amortized loans, you're going to end up paying more on the interest than the principal. And that's what's dragging it out. And that's where you end up paying more.
That's a good point. So the way I got introduced to the snowball effect, I was a single parent for a while. I don't know if you remember, Mike, but I was doing the single parent thing for a while, and being a single parent working, and I didn't get paid from the state. I didn't request to get child support from the mother of the kids because I'm a man and it's my job to take care of my kids. So I didn't get involved in that. I just didn't bother with it. Um, so and as it happens, uh I was a soldier for the beginning part of that, and we don't get paid as much as everybody thinks we get paid. And you were talking about inflation. When you're a soldier, you notice inflation because your pay raises are so incrementally small, and it doesn't happen as often as people think. It barely keeps up with inflation rates. So what happens is you start getting into debt. You start getting credit cards because kids need shoes. They need to go to school. School's got one shopping list, and the kid goes to school. Then there's another shopping list on top of the shopping list. Now you've bought two sets of shopping lists for the school. And next thing you know, you got two or three credit cards, and it happens quick, and it happens quicker than you think, and they add up pretty quick, and so I was going to my church, Covenant Love. Shout out to Covenant Love. I was going to my church, and they have Wednesday discipleship class, and I was taking the single and parenting class, and they brought in one of the pastors who is a financial guy like you, and he started talking about, how to pay off some of the debt, the snowball effect, which cars to pay off first, and I took some of his advice, but I didn't take his advice, completely. I had a psychological thing where I wanted to pay off the smallest old credit card instead of the least highest interest, if that makes any sense. Like they were like, pay the highest interest credit card first, and get that out the way. You'll save more money in the long run. But psychologically, I was like, if I'm going to try to do this, I need to at least pay off one credit card, any credit card, so I can get it in my mind that I can do it. So I went with the smallest one, and then I tagged the highest interest rate one, and that's how I learned how to do that. And that's how I've gotten pretty much debt free. I got my car, got my mortgage, and of course utilities and things like that. But if these videos are not the only way you can get this help. If you belong to a church like that, they have people that can help you out with that. Um, but that's the one way I learned. Now I'm trying to apply that to my car, but now that I got a couple of your links, I'm gonna look into that, see if maybe I can get into that fast track of getting that car paid off, because that's my retirement car. I'm done with cars. It
Right.
seems like when you're in the army, every 2 years you get a new car or something like that. It's the fever, and you continue to bring that negative equity with you with every car that you get, because every 2 years is not, unless you're doing something great with your finances. Every 2 years is not going to get you out of negative equity. It doesn't. None of those people out there that do it, don't look at me, don't judge. I did it. But seriously, I'm trying to apply the snowball to it, but I'm definitely going to be interested in that last slide you showed. I want to talk to you offline about that, though.
Yeah,
That's between us. Um, so I don't think anybody else has any more questions. I'll give it a. There must be lag. I hear you talking about it on the stream. Keep on Monday. Okay. My wife sent me a text. I love her to death. She's always helping me out. Yeah, so there is a little bit of a lag, and between what's going on. I got the YouTube video on my other monitor, so I'm seeing that there's like about a 10 to 15-second delay. That's why I always wait a little bit to see what's going on, but I can't turn the volume up because then you'll hear an echo. That's what happened earlier. I unmuted by accident, and you heard the echo of the chat of the broadcast. So I wait a little bit just to make sure everything is good. I'm sorry I'm keeping you up so late, Mike. It's almost 11. It's
I can stay up
10:42.
all night talking about this, brother. I'm good.
No, and it's been fun. It's been fun. I told you at the beginning that these things, they're fun. It's on the cuff, it's on the fly, but it's good information. You're talking, and it's live, and you never know what's gonna happen. So I really, really, really enjoy doing these kind of things, and usually I'm more involved, but this is more of a area that I'm still learning. So I was just trying to soak up, some of that knowledge for myself. Trying to soak up some of that knowledge for myself. Let me just type if anybody has questions on the chat. That will definitely alleviate the lag problem. And I didn't think about that earlier. No, but definitely, man. And like I was saying earlier, definitely we're now, um, you know, people might say, hey, this guy was more of a motivational speaker than a financial advisor. And to that, I'm going to say this: you have to change your mindset. You have to. If your mindset stays stuck, you're not going to move forward. So you have to try to be half motivational speaker, half financial advisor, to get people's minds to change, to get out of that same old, not to be that crab in that bucket that keeps getting pulled down by that same traditional thought process. You have to soar like an eagle, and you have to change your mindset. The only way you're going to soar like an eagle is if you believe you're an eagle, and And you have to really, people, you have to. Mike touched on a lot of good things. One of them is ownership. Take ownership of your life. Take ownership of your actions. Take ownership of your responsibilities, of the things that you're doing. Don't blame somebody else. Don't blame President Trump. Don't blame Congress. Don't blame your neighbor because he always has nice things and you're trying to compete with him or her. Just look at yourself and open your mind and open and think about the things that you're doing and think about how you can make yourself better mentally and change that train of thought. Break out of that cycle. Break out of the cycle and move into a new direction. And we need that. We need that. And because some of for some people, like I was brought up in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is not it's not rich either. Detroit definitely worse when the car industry collapsed. Took so many jobs out of that area, so many jobs. And the same thing with Puerto Rico when we lost that tax exemption law that went to Mexico on NAFTA. I believe that's how it went over Mexico. But basically, all the big businesses that were in Puerto Rico, American corporations, were tax sheltered in Puerto Rico. So they set up house in Puerto Rico. And when those tax shelters were taken away from Puerto Rico, those companies moved out and created a tremendous debt. And everybody, and there's a lot of people that understand that Puerto Rico has a $70 billion debt. And they're like, how can this happen? Well, things like that happen. Tax shelters were taken away, companies moved out. It's a snowball effect in the opposite direction. You know, and when you live in an island, for us it's great. We have food all over the place. There's tropical trees. There's food that grows naturally, but the money is just not there. It's just not there. But you still have wealthy people on the island. And how do they get there? So they have a different mentality. We have to change our mentality. We can't be, oh, poor me. I was like that while I was in the army. I was like that when I was raising my kids. I had to learn how to change my outlook. I had to learn how to say, hey, Jimmy, what are you doing wrong? And part of that came through my lovely wife who helped me change my outlook. And sometimes you need that. You need that swift kick in the butt from someone that cares and loves you, that's going to tell you how it is, whether it hurts your feelings a little bit or not. I mean, and I'm not saying be mean to the person that you're trying to help. Talk with love, talk with care. But you need those hard truths, and you need to be able to tell yourself those hard truths. And sometimes you don't want to because your ego gets in the way. You can't believe that you may be at fault for your current situation, and you may not be. I don't know, but we all make our choices and the decisions that we make have consequences. And inadvertently, something that we may have done or not have done, something that we chose not to do, may have led us to be where we're at. It's just recognizing those things. And I went off on a preaching tangent like I always do at the end. And I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I've typed in on the chat if there's any more questions. No one has replied. So before I get into preaching mode, Jimmy, which I sometimes do, I am gonna call it a night. Michael, thank you so much for taking time out of your day, your evening, and for joining us. Thank your lovely spouse for loaning you to us for this hour and a half. And I thank my wife for putting up with me and in the chat. And I thank everybody that joined and everybody that stayed on. Thank you for your time. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe, like, definitely please share this video so the word gets out. This information is free and anybody should be able to access it. I want to thank y'all. Y'all have a blessed evening. God bless you. God loves you guys. Good night.